Just off the coast of East Africa lies an island paradise, Zanzibar, a place of spice, trade, and a complicated history soaked in blood, beauty, and power. But on the night of January 12th, 1964, this island would erupt, not from a volcano, but from a revolution, a moment that would forever change the fate of its people. Zanzibar was once called the jewel of the Swahili coast. For centuries, it thrived as a hub of trade, ivory, spices, and yes, human lives. The island was ruled by the Sultanate of Oman since the 1600s, and the culture became a mix of Arab, African, Persian, and Indian influences. But beneath this cultural mosaic, tensions brewed. In the late 1800s, the British Empire stepped in, turning Zanzibar into a protectorate. The Sultan remained, but real power shifted to British administrators. The Arab state elite, the British governed, and the African majority, they remained voiceless. By the 1950s and 60s, the winds of change swept across Africa. Colonies were rising, demanding independence, and Zanzibar was no exception. But freedom wouldn't come easily or peacefully. Zanzibar had its own political parties, each deeply tied to ethnic lines. Tensions flared, elections were bitter. Accusations of rigging, tribalism, and manipulation filled the air. Though Africans made up over 90% of the population, it was the Arab elite who won control of the new government in 1963. On December 10th, 1963, Zanzibar officially gained independence from Britain. The Sultan still reigned. The government was Arab-controlled, but the streets were restless. A young man named John Okello was watching. John Okello was not a politician. He was a Ugandan, a laborer, and a radical visionary. Self-styled as Field Marshal Okello, he believed God had called him to lead a revolution. Charismatic, mysterious, and militant, he began to secretly train hundreds of fighters, mostly poor Africans frustrated with oppression. They waited for the night. At 3 a.m., it began. The sounds of gunfire cracked the silence. Police stations were raided. Government buildings were overrun. The army collapsed. And by dawn, the revolution had succeeded. The Sultan fled the island by boat. Zanzibar was now in the hands of the revolutionaries. At first, there was jubilation. African Zanzibaris celebrated what they saw as justice, long overdue. The ASP took power, and Sheikh Abeid Amani Karum became president. But soon, the revolution turned dark. Revenge came quickly. Arab and South Asian Zanzibaris, many of whom had lived peacefully for generations, were attacked. Homes were looted. Thousands were killed or raped. Tens of thousands fled. To this day, the full scale of the violence remains unspoken, hidden behind silence and political shadows. Though he had led the revolution, John Okello was soon seen as too radical, too dangerous. Just months after the uprising, he was removed from power, stripped of authority, and exiled. He died in poverty, mostly forgotten. In April 1964, Zanzibar merged with Tanganyika to form a new country, the United Republic of Tanzania. Karum became vice president under Julius Nyerere. The revolution was over. A new chapter had begun. The Zanzibar Revolution remains a controversial event. To some, it was the long-awaited justice for centuries of oppression. To others, it was a brutal, unforgivable massacre. But one thing is certain, it changed the island forever. Today, tourists walk the same streets where gunfire once rang out. Children play where history bled. But memory lingers. In understanding the Zanzibar Revolution, we are reminded Power must be shared, justice must be fair, and peace must be protected. Because when the voices of the many are silenced too long, they may one day rise not with ballots, but with blades. If you found this story moving, remember, history lives in all of us. Like, share, and subscribe for more African stories brought to life through animation. Until next time, peace, knowledge, and courage.